Raspberry Island Lighthouse rises solemnly from the rocky shores of Lake Superior, a sentinel of maritime history in Wisconsin's Apostle Islands. Constructed in 1862, its tower of red brick and white limestone was built to guide vessels navigating the treacherous waters of the northern Great Lakes, where fog, storms, and sudden squalls claimed countless lives. Standing 74 feet tall, the lighthouse was one of the earliest permanent lights on the Apostle Islands, a testament to the determination of the US Lighthouse Board to secure safer passage for commerce and travellers alike. The island itself, largely barren except for hardy grasses and scattered spruce, presented a challenge. Supplies and materials had to be ferried across unpredictable waters, and the keepers who would reside here had to endure long, isolated stretches of cold winters and stormy summers. Yet despite these hardships, the lighthouse became a lifeline, a beacon of hope for sailors navigating Lake Superior's mercurial moods. The first keeper, a man named Charles Wheeler, arrived with his family in the fall of 1862. The lighthouse, barely complete, awaited his vigilant eyes and steady hands. Life on Raspberry Island was one of endurance. Supplies were often delayed, storms could isolate the island for weeks, and winter winds threatened to carry even the sturdiest structures away. Yet Charles embraced the solitude, tending to the lamp and maintaining the tower with meticulous care, understanding that the lives of countless mariners rested upon the unwavering light he nurtured each night. Despite the lighthouse's purpose as a protector, tragedy seemed drawn to Raspberry Island. In January 1871, a particularly brutal winter descended upon Lake Superior. A cargo schooner, the Eliza Ann, attempted to navigate the frozen channels near the Apostle Islands. Its hull, battered by shifting ice, finally gave way, sending the vessel and its crew into the icy abyss. Charles Wheeler and his assistants braved the frozen waters in a desperate rescue attempt, but the lake claimed all lives aboard the Eliza Ann. The tragedy left an indelible mark on the lighthouse. Keepers reported an uneasy silence in the nights that followed, punctuated by the occasional sound of splintering wood and muffled cries carried on the wind. Some claimed that the spirits of drowned sailors lingered near the lighthouse, their presence marked by sudden chills and inexplicable shadows along the tower's spiral stairs. Another misfortune struck in the summer of 1894. Keeper Samuel Thompson, a man in his prime, suffered a fatal fall while repairing the exterior of the tower. He slipped from a scaffolding platform and plunged to the jagged rocks below. His body was recovered days later, frozen in an unyielding embrace with the granite. Since that day, visitors and caretakers alike have whispered of a tall figure glimpsed on the tower's balcony. A spectral man, eternally vigilant, yet tragically bound to the lighthouse he loved in life. Raspberry Island's isolation became both its charm and its curse. Accounts from the early 20th century tell of keepers waking to the sound of footsteps on the staircase, even when alone. Lamps were extinguished inexplicably, and the beam occasionally swung in a direction no sailor warranted. One keeper, Edwin Harper, in the winter of 1922, reported seeing the image of a woman in period dress standing on the rocky shoreline. Her gaze seemed fixed on the lighthouse, her form wavering in the fog. The apparition vanished with the rising sun, leaving Harper shaken but unharmed. The lighthouse's fog signal, too, became a harbinger of the uncanny. Long after, automation removed the need for a constant human presence, passing boaters recounted hearing a mournful horn echo across the island late at night, even when no fog lay in the water. Locals speculated that the sound belonged to a long-dead keeper, perhaps calling for help or warning of dangers unseen. By the mid-20th century, automation rendered keepers largely obsolete. The human presence that once defined Raspberry Island Lighthouse diminished, yet the legends persisted. Preservationists who visited the island to maintain the structure often reported strange phenomena. objects displaced overnight, cold drafts in otherwise sealed rooms, and the feeling of being watched. One account, recorded in 1978, told of a young historian staying on the island to catalogue artifacts. She described hearing low, guttural moans emanating from the lighthouse's basement, where the oil lamps had once been stored. Doors she had secured each evening were found open in the morning, yet the winds were calm and no footprints marked the floor. Such experiences fueled the lighthouse's reputation as one of the most haunted in the Apostle Islands. In more recent decades, ghost tours and paranormal investigations have taken place, documenting mysterious light flares on the tower and fleeting shadows along the rocky shoreline. Equipment sometimes fails inexplicably in areas associated with the lighthouse's tragic past, hinting at a lingering presence, unwilling to fade even as modernity encroaches. The spirits of those who once tended the light seem to linger long after automation removed the need for human presence. Visitors and caretakers of the island frequently report sightings of figures moving through the tower's spiral staircase or lingering on the balcony, seemingly performing tasks long since rendered unnecessary. One of the most persistent apparitions is said to be that of Samuel Thompson, the keeper who died in 1894. Accounts describe a tall man dressed in a 19th century uniform, appearing at twilight on the balcony or at the edge of the tower's lantern room. Witnesses report that he sometimes points toward the horizon, as though warning of a danger no living person can perceive. A few have heard the faint scrape of his boots along the metal railing, or the sound of a hammer tapping gently against the tower walls, an echo of the maintenance he once performed in life. Other apparitions are more ephemeral. Keepers have described a fleeting shadow that moves along the shoreline or within the lighthouse itself, vanishing when approached. Some have interpreted these as the spirits of drowned sailors, forever bound to the waters where they met their fate. During storms, the lighthouse's lamp sometimes flickers and dims, even when electricity or fuel systems are fully operational. The effect is brief but chilling, as if the tower itself reacts to the presence of unseen beings. The lighthouse logs of Raspberry Island serve as both practical records and haunting windows into the lives of those who kept watch over Lake Superior's unforgiving waters. Day after day, year after year, keepers meticulously documented weather conditions, passing vessels, and operational notes. But amid these mundane entries are accounts of events that remain unexplained, tragic, or downright eerie. These logs reveal a recurring theme: that isolation, nature's fury, and the ever-present threat of death left marks that linger long after the ink dried. One of the most chilling entries comes from 1906, during a ferocious November storm. Keeper William Harrington wrote of the Mary Bell, a cargo schooner caught in the gale. Waves towered like mountains, and ice formed jagged shelves along the shoreline. Harrington recorded seeing a small rowboat emerge from the storm, carrying a lone figure wrapped in tattered clothing. He described the figure as rowing with methodical purpose against the surging waves, yet, when the storm passed, neither boat nor rower remained. Harrington's log suggested he believed the apparition was a lost soul, doomed to wander the waters eternally. A warning to sailors that the lake had claimed another life. In 1914, keeper Robert Stanton wrote of a summer evening so oppressive with heat and still air that even the water seemed suspended. He recorded a disquieting encounter in the lighthouse kitchen. Late at night, he heard the sound of footsteps pacing above him, ascending the spiral staircase and halting outside his door. Thinking it was one of his assistants, he called out, but received no reply. When he ventured upstairs, the hall was empty, yet he found a lantern placed carefully on the tower balcony, as though someone had insisted the light remain visible through the night. Stanton's entry concluded with the words, "I am not alone here, and the island reminds me nightly of those it has claimed." Perhaps the most unsettling accounts come from keeper Lawrence Bell's logs in 1932 during a particularly harsh winter. Bell chronicled a series of nights when the temperature plunged far below freezing and the lake's surface cracked with shifting ice sheets. On several occasions, he reported hearing faint, anguished cries from the direction of the rocky shore, always coinciding with storms that tossed ships against hidden reefs. Bell noted that on one evening he saw the silhouette of a man standing atop the tower's balcony, motionless except for the slow, deliberate sweep of his arm toward the horizon. Bell described the figure as wearing a heavy coat and hat, resembling a keeper from decades past. When he approached, the apparition dissolved into fog and darkness. Not all tragedies were witnessed by keepers directly, yet the logs preserve their aftermath. In 1899, a supply boat attempting to reach the island capsized in a sudden squall, claiming the lives of 2 local fishermen. Keeper Samuel Whitman recorded in painstaking detail how he recovered their bodies from the icy water, noting the expressions of fear frozen on their faces. He wrote that for weeks afterward, he heard the sound of oars striking the water and muffled voices calling for help, though the waters were silent when he investigated. Such entries underscore how the island's memory is intertwined with both human suffering and the inexplicable echoes of the past. Even minor incidents take on a ghostly hue in the logs. Keepers frequently wrote of doors opening by themselves, objects moving overnight, and lamps extinguishing without cause. One entry from 1927 recounts the lighthouse cat, officially named Whiskers, vanishing for hours, only to return with its fur wet and eyes wide as if it had witnessed something terrifying. The keeper noted in the log, "If even a cat fears this place at night, what am I to believe?" These tragic and mysterious accounts reveal a consistent theme. The lighthouse is more than a building of stone and brick. It is a repository for grief, memory, and lingering spirits. Each entry in the logbook is a testament to the human presence that once kept the light alive, and to the psychological toll of isolation, relentless storms, and the constant brush with mortality. It is no wonder that Raspberry Island Lighthouse continues to be regarded as one of the most haunted sites in the Apostle Islands, a place where history and the supernatural converge with unnerving clarity. Raspberry Island is often shrouded in mist and fog, lending the lighthouse an otherworldly presence. Foghorns, once vital navigational aids, now contribute to the island's eerie reputation. Even when modern instruments confirm clear conditions, visitors have reported hearing the low, mournful wail of the horn echo across the waves. Some believe that the fog acts as a medium, allowing spirits of the past to move closer to the living. During heavy fog, caretakers and tourists alike report shadows moving across the rocky terrain, silhouettes that vanish upon closer inspection. These phenomena reinforce the lighthouse's reputation as haunted, a place where the past refuses to remain buried, and where the lake itself seems to mourn its countless victims. Over the decades, Raspberry Island Lighthouse has accumulated a wealth of stories that blur the line between history and legend. The island's isolation, harsh weather, and turbulent waters created a natural stage for both tragedy and mystery. Mariners, locals, and lighthouse visitors alike have contributed to an oral history filled with ghostly apparitions, phantom lights, and unexplained phenomena. One of the most enduring tales is that of the phantom light. On stormy nights, when waves batter the shoreline and the lighthouse itself is obscured by fog, passing sailors have reported seeing a second light flicker on the horizon. Unlike the lighthouse's official beacon, this mysterious glow appears to shift erratically, sometimes leading vessels perilously close to jagged rocks. Legends suggest that this light belongs to a lost keeper, forever attempting to guide ships, but inadvertently drawing them toward danger. Some maritime historians argue that the effect could be caused by refraction or distant reflections, Yet eyewitness accounts span decades and remain remarkably consistent in their eerie detail. Another local legend centres on the Lady in White, a ghostly figure said to appear along the shoreline at dusk. Descriptions vary, but most agree she is a solitary woman in a long, flowing dress pale as moonlight. Some claim she is the wife of a keeper who perished on the island, eternally searching for her lost husband. Witnesses report her standing silently at the water's edge, staring toward the lighthouse with a sorrowful intensity. On windy nights, some have said that her mournful cries blend with the roar of Lake Superior, creating the illusion that the very wind carries a message from another time. The lighthouse has also inspired stories of more mischievous spirits. Keepers have reported small, unexplained disturbances, tools moving on their own, doors that close suddenly, and objects mysteriously misplaced. One particularly persistent tale tells of a visitor who placed a lantern in the tower's storage room, only to find it hanging from a hook the following morning, swinging gently as if swung by an unseen hand. These minor, yet inexplicable occurrences feed the idea that the spirits inhabiting Raspberry Island are not merely passive observers, but retain a subtle influence over their former home. Stories from the nearby mainland amplify the lighthouse's mystique. Fishermen often tell of seeing figures pacing along the lighthouse balcony when fog drifts low over the water, despite the island being uninhabited. Some swear that the apparition of Samuel Thompson, the keeper who fell to his death in 1894, occasionally climbs the spiral staircase at night, ensuring that the lamp remains lit even when no one is present. Other accounts describe strange music, faint laughter, or the sound of distant hammering echoing across the lake, suggestive of long-forgotten tasks carried out by invisible hands. Even wildlife seems affected by the island's eerie atmosphere. Birds are said to avoid the tower at dusk, and seals and fish sometimes behave erratically in the waters immediately surrounding the island. While these phenomena may have natural explanations, they contribute to the island's reputation as a place where the boundary between the natural and the supernatural is tenuous. Folklore has also produced cautionary tales, warnings for sailors and visitors alike. Locals advise that one should never linger alone in the lighthouse after sunset, for those who do may encounter the restless spirits of keepers and sailors who perished in storms. It is said that those who disrespect the lighthouse, ignoring its history or attempting to exploit its legend, may experience misfortune, sudden chills, nausea, or even hallucinations of ghostly figures urging them to leave. Raspberry Island Lighthouse's legends have also inspired a broader cultural fascination. Artists, writers, and paranormal enthusiasts have long been drawn to the island, creating works inspired by its spectral lore. Some depict the lighthouse bathed in fog, with the Lady in White or the phantom light guiding a doomed vessel, capturing the uneasy beauty of a place where human determination meets the relentless power of nature and the mysteries of the afterlife. Through these tales, Raspberry Island Lighthouse transcends its role as a navigational aid. It becomes a repository of memory, a monument to tragedy, and a stage upon which history and legend intertwine. The stories told of phantom lights, ghostly keepers, and the Lady in White ensure that, even in modern times, the lighthouse is not merely an object of stone and brick, but a living testament to the enduring power of myth, memory, and the unexplained. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, paranormal investigators began exploring Raspberry Island Lighthouse systematically. Using audio recording devices, thermal cameras, and electromagnetic field meters, investigators documented unusual phenomena. Reports included sudden drops in temperature, unexplained cold spots in the tower, and EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, captured during the night. Some recordings suggest whispers or cries for help, though no human presence could be verified. Visitors to the lighthouse today continue to report unsettling experiences. Hikers and tourists occasionally hear footsteps behind them, yet when they turn, the island remains empty. Others describe seeing lights flicker in the tower, or strange shapes moving across the shoreline at dusk. Despite these unnerving experiences, the lighthouse remains a place of historical importance, a reminder of the courage and resilience of those who lived and worked there. Raspberry Island. Lighthouse stands today as both a historical monument and a beacon of mystery. Its red brick tower endures, weathered by time and the relentless winds of Lake Superior. A silent witness to centuries of human toil, tragedy, and devotion. The stories of drowned sailors, fallen keepers, and ghostly apparitions intertwine with its history, leaving a legacy that is as spectral as it is historical. Preservationists continue to maintain the lighthouse, aware that their work protects not only a piece of maritime history, but also the very essence of the island's legend. They recount experiences of objects moving inexplicably, lights flickering in the lantern room, and the occasional sensation of being observed, even when alone. Some visitors claim that the lighthouse has a consciousness of its own, a sentient presence that remembers its keepers and mourns the souls lost to the lake's icy depths. For many, the most chilling aspect of Raspberry Island Lighthouse is the feeling that the past is never truly gone. When storms rage across Lake Superior, the light sweeps over the waves and the fog drifts in from the horizon. One can almost imagine the silhouettes of former keepers performing their nightly duties, forever bound to the task of safeguarding lives. The voices of the drowned whisper across the waves, merging with the wind and the roar of the lake, a reminder that the lighthouse is a threshold between the living and the dead. In the quiet hours of night, the tower becomes a stage for the interplay of history and the supernatural. Some have described hearing the creak of the spiral staircase as if a keeper were ascending to relight a lamp long extinguished, or the faint cries of a woman searching endlessly for a lost loved one. Shadows dance along the walls, refusing to be captured by cameras or remembered clearly by the eye, leaving an indelible sense of unease. Yet, for all its spectral tales, Raspberry Island Lighthouse remains a symbol of human resilience. Its light still sweeps across the water, guiding vessels and standing as a testament to those who lived, worked, and died upon the island. Each visitor leaves with a story, some grounded in historical fact, others shaped by the island's enigmatic atmosphere. But all are touched by the lighthouse's enduring presence. It is this combination of history, tragedy, and lingering mystery that defines Raspberry Island Lighthouse. From the harrowing storms of the 19th century to the whispered voices heard on fog-laden nights, the lighthouse embodies both the triumphs and the sorrows of those who called it home. Its walls remember every lamp lit, every life lost, and every visitor who has dared to walk its spiral stairs after dark. Perhaps that is the true power of Raspberry Island Lighthouse, a monument not only to human achievement, but also to the invisible threads that connect the past to the present. In the interplay of light and shadow, history and legend, the lighthouse stands eternal, a sentinel over Lake Superior, where every crash of the waves and swirl of fog reminds us that some spirits never rest, and some stories are never truly finished. For those who visit Raspberry Island today, the experience is both humbling and haunting. The air carries the weight of memory, and the ground seems to echo the footsteps of those long departed. Whether the apparitions are spirits of keepers and sailors, or the echoes of imagination, the lighthouse's reputation as a haunted landmark is undeniable. Raspberry Island Lighthouse serves as a reminder that history is never truly separate from the present. It is a place where the living may catch glimpses of the past, where tragedy and duty converge, and where the line between reality and the supernatural is as fluid as the fog that drifts across the lake. And as the light continues its slow, steady sweep over the waters, it illuminates not only the dangers of the lake, but the enduring mystery of a lighthouse whose walls have witnessed the eternal interplay of life, death, and the shadows that linger in between.